Good evening and welcome. This is the news update on MITV. I am Iduh. Taking a look at some of the stories that are broken out related to COVID-19. As this evening, stakeholders in the education sector have condemned the policy somersault by the federal government on when schools in the country will be open when final year students in senior secondary schools would write their terminal examinations. The stakeholders who spoke with newsmen on Thursday said such a development shows a lack of synergy in government and in the formulation and execution of policies. They included the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUC, the National Association of Proprietors of Private Institutions, and NAPS, the National Association of Private School Teachers, NAPST. They reacted to the statement by the Minister of Education, Malama Adamu, who on Wednesday nullified an earlier statement made by the junior minister in the ministry, Chukwuemeka Wajiba, who said on Monday that pupils and students in the final year classes in primary and secondary schools would resume on August 4 preparatory to writing the examination. On Monday, Wajiba said schools would reopen on August 4 for final year students to prepare for the terminal examinations. On Tuesday, the West African Examination Council WAEC rolled out its timetable for this year's West African Senior School examination scheduled to begin on the 3rd of August. With the pronouncement by Adamu, everything is now on hold. And fewer than 400 health workers have tested positive for the dreaded coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic. National President Medical Health Workers Union, Joy Josiah Yobemoye, said. This is as the federal government has said the challenges posed by the ravaging COVID-19 were overwhelming. The president will disclose this during the flag-off of the distribution of personal protective equipment, the PPE, to state councils of health workers in Abuja on Thursday, assured that despite the spike in infections, health workers would not relent in protecting the citizens. He noted that the situation on ground called for drastic solutions, hence the decision of the union to take it upon itself to distribute PPEs to our members. And the minority leader of the House of Representatives, Honorable Iduh Lumelu PDP Delta State, has urged his colleagues to go for the coronavirus test in the overall interest of the parliament. This came as he made public the results of the test conducted on his household and domestic staff, which turned negative. It will be recorded on Tuesday. The National Assembly was thrown into confusion when reports in some quarters said about 50 lawmakers were said to have contracted the deadly disease. And Super Eagles striker Paul Onuachu has contracted the deadly coronavirus COVID-19. The player tested positive for coronavirus on Wednesday, while the results of his mates Steven Ude and Cyril Dessers at the Belgian club Genk came out negative. The 26-year-old Nigerian international left Belgium for Nigeria on the 27th of May alongside fellow Eagle strikers Victor Osimhen and Imo Ezekiel. He returned to his club on the 28th of June after he was stranded for a week in Lagos due to the travel restrictions caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, the Super Eagles striker becomes the second Nigerian footballer to contract coronavirus after Iduh, the first footballer to be infected in February 2020. And the United Nations Refugee Agency UNHCR and the World Food Programme WFP have warned of an impending hunger and malnutrition among millions of refugees in Africa as COVID-19 impact worsens. The UNHCR and the WFP in a joint statement on Thursday said the refugees might also be starved due to the dwindling funds of humanitarian aid. The statement said the supply chain challenges, rising food prices, and the loss of income due to COVID-19 would worsen if urgent actions are not taken. It said that about $1.2 billion needed to care for refugees in 2020. More than half was for operations in Africa, noting that the funds have gravely dwindled, already forcing cuts in food rations. It said that the WFP was providing food assistance to more than 10 million refugees worldwide. It said the assistance includes those in the world's largest refugee settlements, such as the Bidibidi settlement in Uganda, where rations were reduced by 30% in April due to lack of funds. That's it on the news on COVID-19 update. Let's take this quick break. When we come back, we're looking at COVID-19 in numbers. Good evening again. It's still the COVID-19 update on MITV, and we're taking a look at COVID-19 in numbers. The total global cases have hit 12,270,993 confirmed cases, and deaths risen to 544,386. The interesting part of the story is the number of recovered patients have also risen, raised to 7,128,080 people. And that's good news for people all over the world, as we have close to about 65% of total confirmed cases has completely recovered from COVID-19. Now, the total number of active cases stand today at 4,588,527 confirmed currently infected patients, with about 1% of that number standing at 58,200 being critical and seriously healed, and then 99% in mild and very mild condition. That's 530,327 people. The tally across the world, the top 10, like we usually have it every day, starts out with the United States having surpassed the 3 million mark, the 3,183,687 confirmed cases of COVID-19 just from the United States of America alone. And at number 2, we have Brazil with 1,727,279. India has recorded 791,559 confirmed cases of COVID-19. At number 4, Russia recorded 707,301. Peru at number 5, 312,911. Chile at number 6, 306,216. And Spain at number 7 at 300,136. The UK at number 8, 287,621. And Mexico at number 9, 275,003. And lastly, Iran at number 10 with 250,458. Here in Africa, total number of cases also rose up to 527,485, with South Africa taking the lead with 224,665 confirmed cases. Nigeria is still at number 3 position with 30,249. But later on the program, we'll be taking a look at the breakdown of cases from Nigeria. But in Africa here, at number 1 is South Africa, number 2 is Egypt, number 3 Nigeria, Ghana at number 4, Algeria at number 5, Morocco at number 6, Cameroon at number 7, Ivory Coast at number 8, 9 Sudan, and number 10 is Kenya. Brings us to our topic for this evening. We're taking a look at the impact of COVID-19 on the tourism sector, and we're speaking with the head of research and development at the European Travel Commission. Jennifer Iduh is currently the head of research and development at the European Travel Commission, a non-profit organization responsible for the promotion of Europe as a tourist destination in third markets. In that capacity, Jennifer is responsible for research and reporting into different source markets and the identification of key trends and opportunities for European tourism. Jennifer is also in charge of research activities linked to the European Commission and other research partners such as the WTO, that's the World Tourism Organization, UNWTO, pardon me, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, and the European Tourism Association, ETOA, among others. Jennifer's knowledge in market research and communications is backed up by 4 years of working experience at the World Tourism Organization, the United Nations World Tourism Organization, and where she provided support to the tourism market trends department and the travel department. Jennifer recently graduated with honors from a postgraduate course on big data and analytics in business management at the KU Leuven University in Belgium. Jennifer, good evening and thanks for joining us today.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me today. It's a pleasure for me to be joining everybody today and giving some insights regarding tourism and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you very much. And, interestingly, you've been everywhere and you've been watching the market for a while. What do you think would be the most impact on travelers around Europe
at this time?
And
when I read out the numbers, I had to read out the numbers for you to get where I'm coming from. In the last couple of months, Europe practically occupied from number 3 all the way till
say
say
6 or 7.
But in recent times, we've seen that the countries in Europe that are still within the first 10 list is just Spain and the UK, which means that COVID-19, the impact of COVID-19 in Europe is relatively reduced. So what do you think will be the impact on travelers around Europe at this time?
Well, just to give a sort of background, we're facing in Europe a very big or an unprecedented crisis caused by the disruption of COVID-19. And all of these disruptions have been led by or followed by lockdowns and travel restrictions. And all of this have had a very significant impact on small and medium enterprises, travel agencies, airlines, and many others. It's also very important to note that tourism-related jobs have been very vulnerable in this crisis. We are looking at job losses that could be quite significant, ranging from 14 to 30 million in 2020. And of course, there is still a lot of uncertainty regarding the pandemic. And we'll, of course, be able to see more clarity as destinations are opening their borders little by little. And this will provide more clarity at a later stage. It's also true that people we need to see what the impact of the pandemic will be on travelers at a later stage. We need to see whether whether they'll return to old patterns or whether they'll be able to be more responsible when they travel and more respectful with the local communities and with the environment. So there is, of course, a lot of uncertainty here. The pandemic has marked before and after, and society and travelers specifically will be completely different in a post-pandemic world. And not only the way that tourism is delivered to them, but also the way they see it. So it's actually just a matter of time to see if the pandemic has transformed travelers and to see whether they are now more committed to change old patterns and contribute to a more sustainable tourism model.
Right now, Jennifer, my concern here, Dubai just opened up its doors
to people to visit, and one of the biggest things here
when you come in, of course,
lay down rules which you must obey if you're going to be traveling up to Dubai at this time, and I'm talking about the UAE. Do you think that Europe, having said that they're going to be locking out countries like the United States of America and some others who are flashpoints for COVID-19, do you think that Europe will still be in the forefront of the type of travelers that we'll be looking at post-pandemic? Because Europe used to be the destination of choice for a lot of people. But with the kind of restrictions that Europe is hoping to put in place, stopping some countries from getting visas altogether, do you think Europe will still experience that kind of freedom?
Well, research has shown that research has shown that having
more more flexible visa procedures could lead to having more substantial increase of travelers and a positive economic impact in a destination. However, we are now in the middle of a pandemic, and it has become a priority for countries all around the world to first contain the spread of the virus and make sure that all necessary safety and health protocols are in place. So once travel is able or is safe and travelers can start going to destination, then we'll be able to explore other alternatives and to start opening borders, which is already happening in the middle of the summer season. So for example, right now, the European Commission has recently released a guidance document supporting destinations on how to safely resume travel again. This document includes all the necessary protocols and that destinations need to carry out to be able to resume travel as soon as possible and ensuring safety of travelers. So it's true that countries in Europe need to establish a more holistic and a common response and a more better coordinated response. So to be able to reopen the tourism sector and removing barriers and rebuilding, of course, travel confidence, which has been significantly damaged due to the pandemic.
Okay, I'm still going to go back to that question, but quickly, I want to just pose that
situation here in Nigeria. In Nigeria, we still have recently flights just resumed operations just a couple of days ago, just about yesterday. And the fact that flights just resumed doesn't mean that international travel has resumed. This is just within the locality, local flights. The continued closure of our borders to our foreigners coming in here, of course, we know it's going to affect the economy. But what do you think would be the impact of that on our almost non-existent tourism sector?
The impact will be severe. This is something that we have seen across many destinations of the world. It will, of course, affect destinations that are perhaps more developing destinations
in terms of tourism. So it's something that it's very important to first ensure and keep the spread of the virus under control, because this has become a priority. If travel is not safe within a destination, there is no way that tourism can be developed in the long term. So this should be the priority right now. And once the pandemic has been, let's say, sort of managed or controlled, we'll be able to start welcoming travelers from all around the world to Nigeria in this case. But the priority right now should be to keep the spread of the virus under control. And of course, implementing policies and strategies to mitigate the impact in the economy, in jobs, and in businesses.
Going back to
the former question, we're talking about opening up the country for other people to visit. Now, people in the educational sector, I'm talking about education tourism here, students who already studied over there are stuck here in Nigeria, and now that schools are resuming, and you have things like travel restriction will be placed on certain countries. How do you think your commission and maybe Europe as a whole can mitigate against having these people affected, because they have schools running, they have the academic pursuit that needs to continue. So if you have this kind of restrictions in place, they will mostly, students and business, they will mostly be on the receiving end of most of these issues.
Well, right now, many countries
are struggling within starting to lift restrictions, to start encouraging travel, and on the other hand, they need to make sure that the pandemic they don't lose control of it. Of course, many of them have been facing a lot of complications in terms of students or travelers that have been stuck in different countries, but we've also seen how many of them have put all the efforts in place to be able to bring these travelers back to their home countries. So
there was no leisure travel at all, but it was just a matter of bringing people back to their home countries. At the moment, a different type of tourism going through external borders within the EU will be difficult, as the goal right now, as I mentioned earlier, is to keep the virus under control and little by little open the borders to countries that are outside the EU and the Schengen area.
Looking into the future, how do you think this crisis has really marked European tourism? Because this is a mark that has happened all over the world. We don't have a choice. It came up on us, and the whole world is struggling to handle, the effects of the pandemic. But on tourism within the European sector, the EU, the relationship with the UK, the Brexit plan that has been practically stalled and is being stalled again and again. How do you think this kind of crisis has marked it for life? I'm looking futuristic now.
Well, if somebody would have told us last year at this same time that the travel and tourism sector would experience, let's say, a massive shutdown, I think none of us would have believed it.
The fundamental nature of tourism has now changed. And this crisis, what it has shown is that we can really not take anything for granted. We have seen how fast the sector can collapse. And although the effects of the pandemic have been devastating at a worldwide level, it has also given us, let's say, a sort of opportunity to sit back and to think about the tourism that we want to leave for future generations. So we need to turn this setback into a comeback and revisit tourism strategies and stop ignoring, let's say, the elephants in the room. We need to think about how we can make
elephant in the room. Jennifer, clarify. Elephant in the room.
Yes, we need to
Elephant in the room.
make people travel in a more sustainable and in a more responsible way. And we are aware that the recovery will be hard and will be very slow, but if we come out of this, it will be a sector that is more powerful. And of course, this will not be possible if countries all around the world, not only Europe, work together and learn from each other and share best practices, so we can be able to build a new tourism environment.
I would have asked you, what has been your own biggest learning through this entire pandemic? I know that Europe is surviving, and Europe is practically almost feeling as if COVID-19 is behind them. What is your own biggest learning?
Personally. It's more connected to what I mentioned earlier. There are some things that we really can't anticipate. There are challenges that are coming every day. We don't know what we'll be facing tomorrow, for example. So we need to, it's not enough building a sector based on just growth interest rather. We need to change the focus and the shift. And by changing this, we'll be able to build a sector that is more resilient. I think that's the key over here. We need to build a sector that is able to face future crisis. This one that we're facing right now has been a big learning where we're trying to see or explore strategies and ways to make this.
Thanks so much, Jennifer, for joining us this evening. It's been a wonderful conversation. We look forward to having the EU open up its borders to Nigeria,
having the EU open up its borders to Nigeria, especially those students to return to school as soon as possible. We'll totally absolutely get
I will be talking to you soon.
I will be talking to you soon. Have a wonderful evening.
All right. Bye-bye. Yes. We've been talking to Jennifer Iduh, and that's the head of Research and Development at the European Travel Commission. And she's been, enlightening us about some of the issues that they're facing in the EU, especially when it has to do with the spread of managing, the spread of COVID-19, the pandemic, with encouraging tourism. How is tourism affected even Nigeria? Remember, there's been an interstate lockdown that was just lifted just this week, and then as soon as that happened, as soon as it was lifted, people jumped into the road and people just needed to travel, some for a purpose and others without a purpose. But we'll talk about that and more after this break.